Let's give them another round of applause, please. So I'm Yasmin Telsam. I'll be moderating the conversation, and maybe we just start with intros for everyone.
Hi, I'm Idara Victor. I did the voice for the film.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'm Jadena Mobison. I was one of the actors on it.
I'm Nana Kwabena. I was one of the writer and directors on the film.
Yeah, and I'm Zach Cederholm. I was the other writer, director, cinematographer, and editor.
Woo! What was so fascinating about this film was the inception and how it all came about. Nana, can you please share the artistic journey about the project as one of the film directors and how this all came together?
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, I've spent the last 11 years traveling the world with this man, my brother Jadena, as his producing partner. We made a lot of great music together, but this film came out actually out of an argument that we had about music. And he basically challenged me. You know, it's very easy as a producer to stand behind an artist, help an artist fulfill their vision, and he challenged me as a producer to do the same thing for myself as an artist. And so out of that, I was able to create an album and then eventually create this film from that conversation. And so it was one of those things where, like, you know, my brother actually just challenged me to grow. But it started from an argument. We wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for an argument.
Our music was getting shelved from that weak-ass label that we no longer on. So that's the true story. And then Nana, I basically said, Nana, you got to do, you're mad because you don't have your own project. So for anybody behind the camera, behind the desk, behind in the lab, who is not usually at the forefront, or management, sometimes it's easy to say, all right, you know, this ain't getting out, that's on y'all, I don't know why y'all ain't putting it out. But when you're in the forefront, that's when you really realize all the workings that go on. And he did that. Like, he said, all right, I'm gonna make music. It started as an album, and now it's a whole ass film, so I'm proud of you, brother.
Thank you, man, I appreciate that.
Sometimes you gotta just take it on your own, I feel that. You have such an amazing voice, and it was very captivating when watching it. And I've seen it multiple times, so I can say that. But it would be great to hear your thoughts on the disparities in voice casting and why genuine representation is crucial in our industry right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when Nana asked me to do this, I said to him, I was like, you know I have an accent, though. And he was like, yeah, I said a first-generation accent. I'm from New York. My parents are Nigerian. So I have kind of an Americanized, like neutralized accent that is very specific to first-generation Americans. And usually I'm asked to put a little Southern something on my voice for people to know I'm a Black woman when I speak. A little, yeah. So I thought, I was like, do you want that? He was like, no, I want your voice exactly the way it is. And that's the second time that someone has said that to me. And I think that, you know, there's an expansion happening, you know. I think that we're representing more of the diaspora. And this film very much does that. And I think by having a first generation voice on it, it kind of represents like the whole, like the larger scope of us as Black people. And so I do see some change happening. Like I do see more authentic representation of the various ways that we show up as Black people and as Black women, but there's definitely room for more. And I think films like this kind of pave the way for that, you know.
But also having, I think, directors that understand the authenticity aspect of it from both Zach and Nana. So Zach, this question is to you, because for me, the desert setting was so mesmerizing. How did you approach cinematography to capture the essence of the environment and influence its story? And then I have a part two to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really even speak to the desert without first speaking to the people that I've co-created this with. In order to shoot in the desert and go in with a super loose plan of the story we're telling and expect that kind of authenticity and that anticipation of play, like this was a film where we went out into a random space in the desert and hiked around until we found the space we wanted to film. And in the moment, we honestly just BS'd our way through it, if I'm being real. And that, to me, is the most beautiful form of cinema and of filmmaking, of tapping into that avant-garde, because it gives your actors and, you know, the production experience an opportunity to be authentic in a way that doesn't just live on a page and you're trying to translate what's on the page. So for me, it was, the desert is like the ultimate playground, and, you know, the people that we brought with, this film was like created on a foundation of trust. So that's kind of the first element, is this mutual respect, and then we just create the space to play, and that's what we did.
So how did you approach depicting sort of the psychedelic and the experiences connected to Palbe?
I don't even know how to answer that without revealing myself as a massive stoner, but...
it's okay, it is a safe space.
Yeah. To be honest, it's from experience, and how that connects to my spirit in a very real way. It's like, not just taking psychedelics to get high, but taking them to connect to something on a deeper level, that unknown. So that is like a deep connection for me on the film.
Yeah. Okay, so just wait. It's on now.
Oh, awesome. I was saying we had a fun pandemic.
Yes, definitely did.
But on that note, I think for filmmakers that are in the building, we all are just, we're playing pretend. We're playing make-believe like we were as kids. And this was definitely that for us. So thank y'all for even including us in your psychedelic dreams.
Absolutely. No, it was beautiful. Honestly, I like, even getting into filmmaking and being a producer for all this time, I feel like making films for me, I literally just feel like a kid again. And I think it's so important to like find new spaces to feel brand new, find new spaces to be like in a space where you know nothing, you know the least in the room, and you just have the most to learn, you know? And so there's something about it every day where working with this guy who has been a filmmaker for most of his life, and being able to watch him, you know, create his films, I felt like that little kid, you know, on like the first day of school, back to school day, that like had my bag packed already. I was up early before my parents were. I was ready to go to the bus early. Like, I felt just so excited to learn during the pandemic, and I think, you know, it really created the opportunity for all of us to synergize and create this piece of art, so.
That's great. For me, post-production is probably the most exciting element of creating a film. And so this question is for Nana and Jidenna on the music part. Music often, for me, enhances the emotional depth of a film. Both of you have built an authentic collaboration over the years. I didn't know that. And as sort of a dynamic duo from producer to artist, and now actor and director. One, how did this sort of partnership blossom into what it is now?
Okay, so let's get to the first time that we met, actually. So Jidenna and I met, we were at UPenn's campus in Philadelphia, where Adar and I actually went to school. And I remember this guy came out of the blue, and I think we were enjoying in one of Zach's favorite pastimes by the bio pond. And we were arguing, and we had a debate, as we always do argue, about this book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. You remember this? And we just argued about our theories about how we got to where we are today, essentially. And from that moment, over the years, we've been able to grow, we've been able to learn, and then I remember we both went apart and then reunited in New York. Jidenna called me one day, asked me to come meet, and I remember we pulled up to this speakeasy. And he was sitting down at this speakeasy at this table, and he had a bag on the floor. And he was like, look, we can make music together, and we can just do a one-off, and I'll just give you whatever's in this bag as payment for the song that we create. Or we can actually do a long-term partnership where I pay you a little less money, and we build something that's gonna last forever. And I chose the second option, and that's what led to us being able to make music together.
Whatever number I told him I had in the bag, I didn't have it.
He definitely didn't have it.
Complete blow. I did have an envelope that I ran to an ATM to get like at least $100 in there, but I did not have that. I have no idea what was in that bag. But I'm glad you chose option 2.
So what can we expect from the soundtrack? Can you give us a little
Yeah,
snippet?
so we did something completely different for this, you know, like, So when I created that album that he inspired me to make, I didn't want to make just like a visual album. I feel like that's kind of played out. I've seen it before. I was like, how do we do something new and different? So what we did, the album that we made, it's like an Afrobeats album, a little left of center. Anybody love Afrobeats here? Beautiful, beautiful. This is for you. And so what we did is we took that music that we made and we actually put together a piecemeal orchestra in Atlanta, all black, and reinterpolated the Afrobeats music and made cinematic orchestral versions of Afrobeats music. That music was used to score this film.
Wow.
You know? And so for me, I think the thing that we're always thinking about that we've been consistent with our music is like, how do we challenge people to think outside of the box, to think different, and to go deeper into our might, go deeper into our power, and stretch beyond the bounds of anything that we ever thought was even possible. You know? And so we wanted to approach this project with the same philosophy, and that's what led to this.
That's phenomenal. So Jenna, you've been known at least to speak out in protection of Black women on several occasions. But in this film, you're playing more of a sinister character. How did you approach that?
Looking at my own life, honestly. And I've gotten into trouble for this, I think, because people don't want to look in the mirror. As a cis man, a heterosexual man, as a Black man, as an African man, my shadow I see my shadow. I know what I've done. I know who I am. The only way that I can heal and grow from that is really looking at myself, my brothers, with a keen eye, accepting my whole self, my darkness, my brightest and highest self. That's number one. That this character allowed me to embrace the sinister side of me. Egba, which comes from Legba or Papa Legba or Eshu, for those who follow Ifa, or wherever you're from, there's a trickster deity like this guy. When Europeans encountered this kind of trickster deity, of course, they thought this was the devil. But in fact, that deity is often a gatekeeper between worlds, and a steward of chaos, and also being crafty. And I've always related to that character, the tricksters, the magicians. So Nana knew that in me. So it wasn't nothing to put on a little smile. I have a little Cheshire cat in me, but he allowed me to be a little bit more sly. So that was a beautiful thing. But I think it starts with the honesty of really looking at yourself in the mirror.
I love that. I love that. Adara, the villagers' hair holds significant symbolism in the film. I mean, your hair is gorgeous today, by the way.
Thank you.
But as Black women, our hair is pivotal in our lives every day. What do you feel the symbolism, what's the themes of identity and protection in that?
I mean, I feel like this film represented so much about what hair means spiritually, what it represents in terms of our power. I am currently working on a documentary about hair, and we're exploring what it means in terms of identity, especially for Black women, what it means in terms of identity, the politics around it, how much freedom can you have in relation to your hair and existing in the world. And we traveled to Paris, and we were speaking to people there, and Paris is unique in that more than any place I've been, there is a collective of various African nations all kind of coming together to create one culture. And so when I spoke to people there, I met with a hairologist, and he would like go into people's hair, look at where they might have like a problem area, and point to something in their life that might be going on. Like, are you having a problem in your career? Are you having trouble in your marriage? And he would be spot on for whatever it is. And you know, he was talking about going back to Africa, going into the villages, going to the far corners to really get back that ancient knowledge that was kind of stripped from us. I feel like this film represents that sort of reclaiming of that knowledge and that power. And you know, I met another man in Paris who was like, I had a sew-in at the time, and he was like, no, like your scalp has to face the sun, you know? He was like, all of your hair needs to be out because it's like antenna, it collects information, it tells you things, it's guidance. Like, there was all this power and knowledge that they were still very connected to that growing up in America, I feel has been very stripped from us, and we've been kind of separated from that understanding of what our hair means in terms of who we are on a very core level, you know, besides what the mask or the front shows. And this film, I feel like, is saying that that reclamation, and Nana, you can speak more to this, but for me, what it represented was that reclamation of ourselves through just that knowledge of our hair, that knowledge of what we created, is what will save us. Right. Nothing else, no other, you know, voodoo, anything else, just that knowledge of ourselves, you know, will be what saves us.
I need homeboy's contact in Paris because my life is stressful. Let me tell you, I know. So I'm told to wrap. So the last question is, how can the audience sort of support the film?
Yes, the best way to support this film.
Tithes and offerings.
Tithes and offerings. We're passing around a collection plate right there, actually. So if you can just reach into your pocket and give us all your money. No, but for real, I would say joining us on socials. Our hashtags or our handle is EndAllSpells. You can also go to endallspells.com. We also have a couple care packages for y'all that include a scalp oil to make sure y'all taking care of your hair. So
shout
that
out to
has
our
more
sponsor, Shea Moisture.
Yes, shout out to Shea Moisture and to Curious Elixirs. We also have a mushroom beverage. It's not psychedelic. You're not gonna be tripping and seeing rabbits running around the room or anything like that. It's healthy mushrooms, so lion's mane, reishi. It's a great mixer for a cocktail. But feel free to see us right after this, and we'll pass those out as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.